So, Loki Season 2 is coming. Remember that? I know we've all been captivated by the unnecessary long pauses and emotionless characters brought to us courtesy of Ahsoka,
Oh, I want to long pause.
but we're getting back to this. Are you excited? What? You're not? You don't want to see this weird, self-masturbatory / incestuous / I don't even know how to describe the dynamic of this Sweet Home Asgard relationship? You're not stoked to see Kang the Conqueror get defeated for what'll this be, the 7th time? 8th? Something like that. But don't you remember how good the first season was? Remember how they made everything that every character did in the entire Infinity Saga absolutely meaningless? Because the TVA is just resetting situations until they get the outcome they want? Who knows how many times Tony didn't get the stones from Thanos? Maybe it really did take, what was it again, Steven?
14,605,000.
Yeah, that many tries. Look, if the TVA hit the reset button every time Captain Marvel beat Thanos, then maybe they ain't all bad. Remember when they took a character from 2012 and showed him movie footage of his future self up to 2018, and he just became that future version of himself immediately? The god of mischief who can create illusions of himself believed a bunch of sketchy people showing him things that never happened, and that caused him to become a completely different character, despite the fact that he never went through all of the things that eventually turned Loki into the person he was when he died. And all this 2 days after he gouged a man's eye out in a crowded party with a wicked grin on his face and commanded that same crowd to kneel before him.
I said...
Remember that? Yeah, that made sense. And then they proceeded to humiliate him at every turn. Remember how clear all the time travel rules were, and how they were perfectly logical and consistent? Like how you can do whatever you want in world-ending catastrophes and it doesn't matter, even though bodies would be found in different places and thus at different times. Like how this Loki variant was born the wrong gender, and the TVA somehow didn't get that memo for nigh on a decade. And then that little adolescent somehow evaded them or overpowered. I don't even freaking remember. Who cares? She got away somehow. It made no sense. She was a 9-year-old girl. Remember when they turned the Infinity Stones into paperweights? Yeah, Ryan Johnson and J.J. Abrams are taking notes.
I have died before.
Look, it's no secret that the MCU has fallen far from what it once was. The death of it started with Endgame. As soon as they brought time travel and multiple timelines into it, it was only a matter of time until the entire thing caved in on itself. But man, it only took 4 more releases for Loki to just demolish everything. Sure, Falcon and the Winter Soldier was garbage.
You've got to do better, Senator.
And sure, WandaVision didn't understand basic morality, like that enslaving an entire town in a mental prison is wrong.
They'll never know what you sacrificed for them.
But those two were self-contained. They only ruined their own show and characters. Loki ruined itself and everything else that came before it, and doomed everything that came after. The MCU has been steadily declining. Even the NPCs have begun to catch on to it with Quantum Mania. The quality has dropped markedly, yes, but it's more than that. Ever since Endgame, it all just feels so insignificant, with one pretty standalone exception.
Strong enough to have it all?
Too weak to take it!
There have been 19 MCU releases since Phase 4 began. I had to double check that number. 19! What have those 19 releases accomplished? They've kind of set up a villain that seems like he's just there to get defeated by every character. The MCU originally had an overarching plan. It was all leading to something. They were slowly and intentionally introducing the Infinity Stones and developing the characters that would stand against the mysterious villain they were building up. 19 releases since the beginning of Phase 4. Do you know what the 19th release in the original MCU was? This one.
You should have gone for the head.
They'd had 4 ensemble movies, 3 of which were fantastic.
You're missing the point. There's no throne. There is no version of this where you come out on top. Maybe your army comes, and maybe it's too much for us, but it's all on you. Because if we can't protect the Earth, you can be damn well sure we'll avenge it.
It's internment,
She's
Tony.
not a U.S. citizen, and they
Oh,
don't
come
grant
on,
visas to
Tony.
weapons of mass
She's a
destruction.
kid.
Give me a break!
Dragging in Clint, rescuing Wanda from a place she doesn't even want to leave, a safe place. I'm trying to keep you from tearing the Avengers apart.
With all 6 stones, I could simply snap my fingers. They would all cease to exist. I call that mercy.
And now it's just kicking the can down the road, telling meaningless stories that contribute nothing to an overarching narrative. And all in a world made convoluted and pointless by all the time travel and multiversal cheapness. So yes, Endgame planted the seed for Marvel's destruction. But it could have been snuffed out. They didn't have to water it. Loki watered it, fertilized it, and used a growing charm on it to turn it into a mandrake. A noisy, ugly, childish mess that makes me just want to block out all my senses. So honestly, in terms of Loki Season 2, who cares?